What's up, everybody? Welcome back. Happy Monday. It's good to have everybody back here. What an episode this is going to be, man. I got a chance to talk to my buddy, Xolo Maridueña. I've been interviewing this guy since he was a kid. Now, he's a superstar. And we're going to be talking to him about everything, man. We missed our annual interview, but not this time. Now I got him in studio, and we're going to be talking about a lot of cool shit. But before we do that, as you guys know, on Mondays, we're brought to you today and every Monday by Carbon Health. And we're so excited to have Carbon Health on board. A lot of different locations. Now, I know it's a very tough time. You don't know where your provider. They offer so many different locations. They can help you out with your needs, everything that you need at Carbon Health. I have all the information in the description of the video. Carbon Health is fantastic. We've been working with them since the Schmodown, and on every single episode, they're so helpful with things that you don't even know about and how it, a lot of people have questions about the health industry and medical needs. They have all of it. And there's so much in testing and all these things that you can do. So check out Carbon Health, and we're very excited to be working with them. If you didn't already know, make sure you go to the Apple Podcasts, Spotify, everywhere podcasts are found, obviously. Got a lot of new tiers on Patreon that you guys can check out. And it's time, man. No more of this. Let's get into it. It's me and Xolo. Let's do it. Welcome back, everybody. It's Monday, and I'm excited. Enough with my stupid face. Look at this guy. Look at this guy.
Yeah.
Rock it out, bro.
Yeah.
Rock it out. How you doing, man?
Good.
I'm excited to have you.
We're 3 for 4.
We're 3 for 4. What's crazy is, and I talked about this the other day. I remember what show it was I was talking to you about, but when I first met you, I think you were like 16 going on 17.
I'd taken the train to the studio that you were
Did
filming
you?
at. Yeah, I'd
Hilarious.
taken the Amtrak or the Metrolink or whatever that one is. To this, I was thinking about that on the way here. I was like, oh my God, I have my license now.
It's nuts. Yeah, it's because I think you came on over, and it was like when I was with Collider and we did that one-on-one interview, and you were like 16 going on 17. And it was funny because I said, I saw you in an interview the other day, and when we first met, you were dressed like me, right? And you had on this fucking pimpin' coat the other day. And like you were just, your personality didn't change at all. And I've raved about you many times over. You're just a very down-to-earth kid, and you still seem like the same way, even after all the success. But you were like, you reveled in the style, as you should.
I can't do it alone. I'm not fashion forward. I mean, I'm here today in my fuzzy Birkenstock, so but I appreciate fashion.
Yeah.
To some level, you know.
You got help now, man. Yeah, I got my wife. That helps.
Hey.
That's about it.
There's nothing like someone who knows. Yeah.
Someone to help you out. That's what I had. I had someone to help me out, man. So you've been busy though, man. You got a lot going on. But we'll start obviously with Cobra Kai. We got to start with Cobra Kai season 5. I know, right?
5 seasons.
Isn't that, did you? So be honest with me.
No, I didn't.
You didn't. No way.
There's no way.
No chance.
No one could have. I mean, you're asking if we would have thought we would have gone 5 seasons?
The fact when you get cast in this show, because you were coming off Parenthood at that time, right?
Yeah, I had come off of Parenthood.
For a little bit.
Yeah, for a little bit. I was in high school, like planning on going to college.
Right.
Basically,
so you went in for that audition, and then you get season 1. Because I remember us talking about it. It's like, yeah, this is cool, Karate Kid. This will be fun. It's on YouTube at that point. It's not the juggernaut it is right now. Like everybody's watching Cobra Kai now, which is awesome, right? But at the time when we spoke, it was like a cool show that you were on.
It was culty.
And then it blows up. So tell me through seasons 1 through like 3, because it like that whole thing, how you start to see the success of it. But is it really the Netflix deal? You go, well, wow, this is another level.
Well, in that culty regard, the fan base still felt super strong because the people that were willing to pick up the subscription and willing to watch the show meant that they were really into the Karate Kid.
Yeah.
And I think because of that, it made everything after the first season, because we had no expectation the first season, it brought that expectation to what the show should be, because the guys killed it. Billy, Ralph, our creators, they all killed it. And then I think when we hit Netflix, we were hitting Netflix with a season that was meant to go to YouTube.
Right.
And that's not to say that it would have been different or we would have
been
changed
as far as reach.
But,
it would have been.
Well, yes. As far as reach, definitely. But it was just going to be another season. And there were
Right.
talks as to whether or not YouTube at the time was going to, you know, stop doing their scripted stuff and move more into the non-scripted space. And that felt okay because our fan base was really great. Now, once we hit Netflix, it was like night and day.
Right.
And not to say that YouTube was not a big platform, because it's the biggest platform.
Sure.
Really. But it was worldwide.
Yeah. Well, it's different also because with YouTube, like you said, like a lot we were just talking about it before we went on air. YouTube was, when it first really popped in like 2005 until really like 2010, it was all about the creator in front of the camera doing their thing. And then there were a couple companies that kind of build off of that, and it got really big. And then YouTube started making like television, as you're very familiar with. But it was Netflix when that move happened. It was because right away people, because I remember telling people, dude, you got to watch Cobra Kai. And like, what is it on? It's on YouTube. I'm not going to pay for YouTube. And then now it's like, oh, well, I have Netflix. Everybody has Netflix. Let's check it out. And then, so do you see that though, as far as like, when you're walking around on the street, how different that changes immediately?
This happens peak pandemic.
Yeah.
So everyone is forced to stay inside and watch Cobra Kai. I'm convinced that this is kind of it was serendipitous in how the stars align. And look, I'm not saying that I'm glad that
I know
COVID happened,
yeah,
you know, but
you and Tiger King.
Yeah, exactly. But people were seeing this thing on the front of Netflix being like, what? Because the reality is that a lot of people around the world, because, you know, YouTube Originals and YouTube Premium isn't everywhere in the world just yet. Not everyone had seen Cobra Kai like when it first came out,
Right.
even.
Right.
So this new demographic, and also the fact that, you know, parents sometimes are like, I think YouTube is one of those things that's skews a little bit younger.
Mhm.
And especially with something like a premium, it's, you know, but it was very night and day, at least on the social media part. And then as things started to open back up, I mean, I look pretty different than I do in the show. So as far as getting recognized and all those things, that definitely is where Jacob shines when we're together.
Hilarious.
He has the, like, everyone is like, the dude with the
Talk.
hawk.
But even speaking about that, because we are going to get into, so for people who don't know, we are going to get into pretty heavy spoilers on all the seasons, and especially season 5. So if you haven't had a chance to watch 5, I'll put time codes in there when we start talking about it. But I have to talk to Xolo about a lot of this stuff that happened, because when I had Marion not too long ago, she was telling me that, and this is one of those spoilers, the breakup scene, man, you know, when you have the thing and you drop it, she said that the crying wasn't even something that was scripted. It was like you guys just kind of were in the moment, and then you just kind of, it just took over.
Yeah, I mean, I think when crying isn't, like, when it is scripted anyway, sometimes it's a little, I think the guys have been really conscious of that, of not necessarily, like, I don't know, sometimes when you read crying on the page, you're like, what? I don't know.
Right.
There's,
I don't know if I can get there. Right.
no, not even, I don't know if I can get there, but also, like, if the tears are meant to be there, and I don't know, I think in some ways it should be up to everyone, but no, it wasn't scripted, and it was a really great scene. I find that I tend to enjoy the really grounded, more dramatic scenes.
Yeah.
Because I don't know if that's because I'm always laughing during the comedy scenes. I can't stop laughing, especially across Billy or Gianni or Jacob or those guys. But it's been really great to be able to explore, you know, really roller coasters, the comedic stuff, the dramatic stuff, the action stuff, and the dramatic stuff, especially with Billy, but with Mary as well, because she definitely plays a big part in Miguel's arc over the past couple of seasons, or really throughout the whole show.
Yeah.
And to have a moment that feels like, for the first time, like there's a period at the end of it, definitely was a little odd, and was easy to be like, oh, okay, I don't have to dig deep for this one.
Yeah, because you guys have been through so much together already too, in both reality and in the show. And just like, what I liked about Miguel so much in this is the matter of maturity that he goes through in this season, right? Like he's got to start out when he's trying to find his dad, and that's something I wanted to go in with you, because you come from a very strong kind of family background. So what was it like to go into there? You know, you're trying to find dad. You've been warned not to go there. It's like this whole thing, and then ultimately finding out who your dad is when you have these father figures in Johnny and in Daniel, obviously. So what was that like as an actor, like having to kind of channel that through, and there's they're pretty emotional.
I think for my character, it felt like coming down from or like a reality check, so to speak. This injury happens at the tournament. There's the second All Valley tournament. I'm already feeling a little, I guess, doubtful going into the tournament. Sure. There's been a lot of tension between the dojos. I'm starting to see that not only Johnny, but also Daniel and everyone isn't really on the same page in terms of why they are trying so hard to beat Cobra Kai. Some people have their motives, and a lot of the times they're not aligned, even though they're joining together and saying, all right, we'll come together and do this. We'll fight under one note or whatever. It's really when Miguel hears Johnny in the like little nurse room where Johnny's saying, hey, you got to do this because we got to be the ones to win this. And he sounds he's lost in the sauce, right. Johnny. He's super jaded about the whole thing, and he has a tunnel vision. And I think that's the moment that clicks like, oh, okay, it can't just be karate, because although this has been really the driving force of a lot of his motivations and his, actions in the show, there has to be more than this. And maybe I think I'm contemplating a lot. You see throughout the season, like there is a curiosity there about your dad. And that I understand too. I've always loved how Miguel didn't need a, biological father for there to be that connection. And I think that's a sentiment that I am even, familiar with. But, he's not wrong for having curiosity.
Right, of course.
And that's, yeah.
Yeah, well, which was such a great moment too, because what it also starts is that and this is a question I wanted to ask you about, like the scripts, right? Because what I was talking, I had Sean Kanan on the show, and we were talking about Mike Barnes and how Barnes, I thought, and I was like, all right, Barnes got to be a scumbag. He's got to be. And I'm like, everybody can't be good again, but they did it in a way that I was like, all right, well, he's still a bad boy at karate. He's still got it. Do you ever pick up the scripts when you're looking? I'm like, I hope it doesn't go down this way. And then obviously with the way that the guys write, you're like, okay, good. Because like I didn't want Robbie and Miguel to keep fighting again and again, the same way you don't want Daniel and Johnny to keep doing it. So did you kind of expect that was coming, or did you think it was another season of fighting with Robbie?
I think this one was a little bit tough because especially for this 5th season, we were going 2 back-to-back seasons. We had shot 4 and then took 2 months off and then shot 5. So there was still a lot up in the air in terms of what season 5 was going to look like. Season 4 felt like a banger. It was just like, especially with the All Valley stuff and then the stuff after the All, like it was that felt like the end game season, so to speak. And coming after that, it was like, all right, now we have to figure out where this goes. We just sent Miguel off. We literally, and I hopefully I'm not, airing out what happens behind the scenes or showing you how the sausage is made. But the guys were like, we don't know if he's going to make it to Mexico. We're sending you off to Mexico, but maybe Johnny picks him up, before he gets to the border or something's up. Like, this is how uncertain things, even at the first episode, were.
Yeah.
Obviously, the guys really do have like a big old plan for the whole show, and there's arcs that there's things that they've known since season 1.
There's a lot of episodes. You got to go bounce back and forth, and things can change for sure.
Exactly. And so reading the scripts, a lot changes episode to episode. I mean, this breakup that we're talking about happens one episode. The next episode, it seems like they have this altercation in the Robbie's house party and all this stuff. And it feels like you have to cover so much ground in 30 minutes, 10 episodes, that every episode I'm like, I don't know what's going to happen next episode. We broke up this episode and it says she's angry in this episode. So I don't know.
She was taking you on a ride as well.
Yeah,
too.
Exactly.
Yeah. So tell me about that fight though, man. Cause that fight was brutal. The fight, it's like you guys are, it's great. And I love the fact that Johnny's like, all right, you guys just fight this thing out. Like, basically like just 2 dogs just gotta all right, we both got our ground. We both, because this has been building. It's been building forever, and now they both have their stances. They're both good guys. Now I look at this as wrestling, to where there's like, you've had your heel turn. Obviously, you've gone back to babyface. And now, and it's the same thing with Robbie. So take me through that. First of all, you guys, congratulations on the choreography of it, because it seems like there was a lot that went into that. So take me through that.
That's one of my favorite fights I think I've ever done on the show. There haven't really been a ton of, aside from the tournaments, which always feel a little bit more technical.
Yeah.
Whereas these fights feel more scrappy. I haven't had a lot of one-on-one fights. And especially with Tanner, I mean, the last one that we did was the one where I got my ass kicked off the balcony.
And you almost got him back.
And I almost got him back. Yeah. It's only because it was in the script. You're lucky I'm not good at improv.
You lucky bastard.
But, you know, reading that episode, reading that part, I'm nervous because I'm like, I don't know if I'm going to win. I don't, you know. And of course, no, I guess not of course, but action in at least our scripts, while at first in the first couple of seasons was pretty specific because the guys had a very, like a great way of lining it up with some of the stuff that happened in the original Karate Kid.
Sure.
So it says like wax is on these things. Now it's just like Robbie and Miguel fight for X amount of
and
time.
you figure out who wins when we tell you.
Yeah, well, you figure out who wins or blah, blah, blah wins.
Yeah.
And it's like, ooh, okay. So I can see that I win, but I don't know how it happens. And I'm really excited that they were able to bring it full circle.
Yeah.
And with some of the parallels that they brought to the first fight. But I was also really relieved that it felt like the storm was over.
Yeah, it was,
at least between these two.
It's like whether it's a UFC fight or boxing or whatever it might be, it's like these two warriors who hate each other, right? But they really have like such a battle that you can't come out of it without respect. And that's exactly from everything that was there, like this brotherly thing that they have now. It's like even when Robbie's at the table, he's like, no, we're good now.
Yeah.
And it's just, but you believe them.
Yeah.
And like, and even when the rest of the dojos, it brings a balance to the dojos when you guys aren't fighting with each other. So I'm sure that even on set, because how is it like when you and Tanner have to be at beef the whole time? So obviously you guys aren't kicking the shit out of each other off screen, but like you've got to keep as actors, I'm sure, like an animosity before you get into the scene.
Tanner is really good at that.
Yeah, I'm sure he is. Well, you know what I'm glad you brought that up, because I had a chance. I finally met a whole bunch of people. You weren't there at the Nokia thing. I hosted the Nokia thing, and I was looking for you, and I was like, oh, you were out. So, but I had a chance to meet him for the first time, and he's a competitive dude. Like they were playing trivia. He's a competitive dude.
No,
so I can only imagine.
I've always really respected Tanner because even when we started, I mean, I want to say he was 20, maybe had just turned 21, and that's how old I am right now.
Yeah.
He brought really a level of seriousness that I think was refreshing for someone my age. I had just come from always working as a kid actor where you're screwing around 90% of the times, and then you say your lines and then you leave.
Yeah.
That was at least my experience. I'm sure Jacob Tremblay does not have the same
I'm sure
the same you know, method to the madness, but he really brought a level of professionalism that I hadn't seen before as someone that age, and I think it really, sometimes it's like a little, like I remember during the first season he wouldn't talk to Billy the whole time until the very end.
Is he kind of method?
I don't know. Method is such a like umbrella term that I have a hard time.
Yeah.
I think he really has great technical ability.
Yeah.
And I think he is able to analyze scripts and whatnot in a different way than I was used to. But, and I'm getting lost with the question here.
Yeah, it's just him, how competitive he is, and like the idea of the animosity beforehand, where that's now gone with you two.
Yeah, I mean, he's a competitive kid at heart. He competed in gymnastics, and you know, definitely when it comes to like the guys training in the dojo when we're on hiatus, he and Jacob both, you know, are, and I sit on the sidelines like, do it, guys.
Just do it. Well, you and Jacob, now you guys have a podcast together. Mm-hmm. So were you guys buddies before, or no, you guys kind of met on?
No,
scene? Okay.
we met on Cobra Kai, and you know, I think obviously Mary was the first person I met, and we really hit it off in terms of she was really welcoming towards me, but Jacob was my age.
Yeah.
And Gianni was my age, and like they were also sophomores in high school when I was, so Jacob and Gianni and I felt like we just all hit it off right off the bat, and now they're some of my best friends, and I live with Jacob from time to time, and
Crazy.
and yeah, then we spend 3 months together. We film Cobra Kai, and I'm like, dude, I hate your guts.
But it's the kind of lifelong friends, though, man. It's
yes,
that kind of shit. It's true. It's like you get into those, you learn so much about each other, and it's funny. It's him and Peyton, I think, are the two now that I have not met and interviewed.
Oh, really?
They're the two, and my daughter is pressuring me on Peyton. Because she just discovered all those Disney shows.
Yeah.
And so she's like, so I told her that you were coming in today, and she's like, you have to talk to him about Peyton. I was like, if it comes up.
Yeah.
Because like she's 10 and she's like, she's my favorite. She's like, to her, what Tom Cruise was to me growing up. It's Peyton.
Peyton List.
That's Peyton. I'm telling you.
That's
she's
awesome.
So, and
also a part of Scientology, actually.
Okay.
No, I'm just kidding.
Oh.
Kristian's face.
I'm like, wait a minute. Well done. But that particular, but I bring up Tori because what you talk about the arcs of the people who every single season there's someone who's going to turn either the dark side or the light side, and it's Tori this time who's really. I think that between her and Chosen. You guys always have your standout seasons and everything. You've certainly had you have some big moments in this one too. The characters that I think have those big arcs, the really big arcs to me, are Chosen.
Yeah.
Because where he came from, I mean, from Karate Kid 2 to now, and then her arc. So working with Peyton and watching the character of Tori, what did you think about kind of where her arc and that character, what you've seen with her?
Peyton, I think, was someone who had a lot to prove coming into the show.
Why is that?
I think there's a stigma behind children actors who work on Disney.
Yeah.
In that's kind of what they're stuck with for a long time. There's obviously your breakout stars and whatnot, but I think coming from a show like Jessie that plays very big and bubbly and over the top, to then come to a show where she has to fight something she's never done before, and it has to do some of these things that maybe at that point were new, she really like overperformed. It was awesome.
Yeah,
to see her come in, she and killed it too.
Yeah, well, Jacob had that thing too. Right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Jacob is kind of bonkers. Like his character, there's nothing that can prepare you for doing a role like that. So
yeah,
I think, and his personality, I think, albeit different than Hawk, is very similar to. It's just not as chaotic and violent as Hawk is, but they are fairly similar.
And even Hawk, the Hawks brought it down. Hawks. That's what I love about the show, is that the show doesn't stay like one note with the characters. Like they're all over the place, and in a good way. Like to where they get to a place. Every character, from the younger characters to the older characters, they all go through things that they can't stay on one note. And that's why when they were like, well, you can't keep Barnes as this guy because he wouldn't really have learned anything, but he can still keep his edge. And like Terry Silver, who we were talking about beforehand. Dude, Thomas Ian Griffith is a stud, man. That dude is just he's the coolest.
Yeah. Ari Aster needs to link up with that dude to do something because he is what a wonderful man to just be in the presence of.
Yeah.
It's been really cool. And really everyone from the old I shouldn't say the old, from the original franchise really has come in with such a level of excitement and respect to this thing that happened when it happened. And that's been, I think, one of the most great parts of working with all of them is that you just see, wow, they really are so gracious to be here.
Yeah.
And it just makes you want to do your best to honor them.
Yeah. Speaking of it, are you a big Hillary Swank fan?
I've seen her movies. Yeah. I like $1 Million Baby.
$1 Million Baby.
Movie, I suppose.
Movie. Well, what do you...
but I have seen The Next Karate Kid, and I think
that's the question you get all the time.
Is she going to
show up? Well, I'm not going to ask you that because you can't tell me even if you knew.
Yeah, I was about to say, I don't know.
It's like as much as I want to say, all right, tell me. First of all, you don't know. Second of all, if you did know, you're not going to get fired from your job by telling me.
But hey, look, I think, like the guys always say, if they're in the universe, they're in the universe.
Right.
And I think there's no way. Look, I think there's no way we don't finish the show without getting everyone
and trying to, at least, because
definitely
dude,
trying
they ask her every interview, no matter what she's doing, or even a reference,
or even like a reference, or like a nod to acknowledge that she lives in this universe. Like, there's no way that it doesn't happen. That's what I think. At least. And look, I'm not spoiling anything because it's like you. And also, if you're Hillary Swank, this is cool for you too, girl. Like, hey,
she's got her show right now. She has her show, and I'm so curious because she gets asked about it every interview. No, like, and at first she was getting hit up about on Twitter, and I think she's got something like some kind of a pet that's named, I don't know if it's something that along the lines of Eagle Fang. I can't remember what it was.
Oh, really?
Something
Really?
I don't know if it's necessarily Eagle Fang, but something related
Okay.
to the show.
My pug.
Yeah,
Eagle
right.
Fang.
Right.
Pugarian.
And it's Pugarian. It's something like that. That's what I should have named my pug. It's Pugarian. Damn it, Xolo. Where were you? But I think that she's been asked about it so much. I think you're right, though. I think that the guys are going to go after her, and if she says no, there'll be a reference. Yeah. Now that also leads me into how long you think the show goes, because what I will tell you straight up, as I would tell you, like when I was watching season 5, I started with going, all right, am I getting nervous for me as a fan, because how long can you go with it before it becomes repetitive? And then they just spun it on their head and it ended, and I was like, more. But I still get nervous because I want it to end strong.
Yeah.
How long do you think it goes? Because this will transition us into something else after we finish this, but I'm curious. How long do you think it goes?
I think it goes one more like great season.
Yeah.
I think whether that means that 6 is a good season and then 7 is a great season, 6 is a great season. I think the guys have really done such an outstanding job at not only, honoring the fans of the original content, but also finding a way to just bring it up one notch, and sometimes a couple of notches. But I just hope it ends on a good note, just like you're saying, you know. And I think hopefully we get this 6th season and we get to do it again. But it would be unfortunate if it was one of those shows that was like, oh, it was good up until the 5th season.
Right,
good up until
I don't think the guys are going to let that happen. I agree with you. And I also think Netflix be a bunch of morons if they don't pick it up. It's consistently number 1 throughout, and they need it right now for the hits. But so before I move on to other stuff, because we can jump back into Cobra Kai whenever we want to. But let me ask you about the movie that was announced. The Karate Kid movie.
Karate Kid movie.
The Karate Kid movie that was announced. So it's bizarre.
What
the hell is going on? So they announced this movie that it's going to take place in the Karate Kid universe, but the guys aren't involved. You're not involved.
There's no Cobra Kai affiliation.
Are Ralph and
Ralph and I don't.
Or Ralph and Johnny?
Look,
Is it Ralph and Billy?
And look, this is Twitter speaking.
Yeah.
I saw that they weren't involved.
What the hell's the movie? What is that movie? Who wants to see that movie?
Unless they're figuring out the logistics.
Yeah.
And this is the information that we have now. I also was kind of like, even reading John's Twitter, he was like, we don't have anything to do with this. But
that was John's nice way of saying, don't see this shit.
No. Hey, look.
I know. I mean, he doesn't have to say it, and he would never say that. But it's like, but he's even if he subliminally is saying that, why would you? After seeing what the guys have done with karate, with Cobra Kai, and it's not going to be involved in that. Why would you do that? I don't know enough about the details at all, but it makes no sense.
No, what they need to do is do 6 seasons of Cobra Kai and then end with a movie, to do movie budget stuff.
Absolutely.
To have Johnny walking away from a big ass explosion, that's why we need the movie.
Well, why not? If you have that whole thing, I've always been saying that whether it's if you're like Mandalorian's one of my favorite shows as well. So like and I've always said if you're going to end that show up and you know that it airs in December. And it's, let's say December 16th is the season finale. And the series finale could be then the movie on the 23rd that will be in the theaters for however long, and then it'll be on whatever. So you can do the same thing with Cobra Kai. It's like the big movie, and then you put it on Netflix afterwards. I don't get it. I don't understand. So, you're just as baffled as I am.
Yeah, baffled and also just like, but also very curious.
Yeah.
Because there's no way that they do something else and let it flop. I think at least. I think,
I'm curious.
There's, especially if it truly wasn't, with the help of the guys or Ralph or, people that they've already established in this universe, I think unless it's a like young Miyagi movie and that's why it's a part of the franchise.
Right.
But also like that's the guy's idea. They like, which also would be some snake shit if they weren't involved.
Yeah, and that's why I think they've been talking about spin-off stuff. And it's look, the guys are busy. They have two new shows coming out. They have other stuff, as they should be. They should be in interview rooms every other Thursday, or if not every Thursday. And they are busy. And maybe, I don't know. I think my personal thing is that Sony goes, okay, look, Karate Kid's hot. They're going to be pretty expensive. The cast is probably going to be pretty expensive. Let's try to do something, spin it off. And that's a stupid studio decision. I have no information that.
Or maybe they just announced to see the buzz. I feel like that also happens all the time, where they're just like, let's see if people are going to care about this, and then they see.
Throwing tomatoes from left
and then they're
field.
like, okay, let's bring the guys on.
You got to have that deal, because you don't need bad publicity on Karate Kid now that there's so much love behind it. All right, okay. Before we move on, I do have to tell you about MyBookie, because you guys, football season, man, it's moving, and you know football well, right? And you pick winners all the time, so why not get paid for them at MyBookie? You can bet a single game spread, money line, parlay multiple together to increase your payouts. There's low contest entry fee and over $500,000 to be won. Make it so you don't have to be a pro gambler to be fun. Getting started is easy. You just visit mybookie.ag, and you got to use that promo code BIGTHING on your first deposit to secure a double deposit bonus. That's a deal right there. That's promo code BIGTHING to get your first deposit matched dollar for dollar all the way up to $1,000. MyBookie is a proven sportsbook that makes it simple to bet and win. So make this your winning season exclusively at MyBookie. Use that code BIGTHING. All right. So other movies, and I know you can't talk about too much of it, but I have to ask you, because people are gonna be very upset if I don't ask you about it. And it's up here somewhere. This is all the Karate Kid stuff, and we'll get there eventually. Nope. No.
Who is this?
Who is all these people? All right, we're almost there, Xolo. We're almost there, and boom, perfect. There it is, right there. There you like that shot?
That's me.
That's great. Forget it. It's Blue Beetle. Let's just talk about Blue Beetle. I got there. Blue Beetle, man. So the first thing I want to ask you is this, because I know that it's very hush hush. I know that there's only so much you can talk about. So your director comes out. There's a big conversation that they have about all this shit going down with Zasloff and cutting Batgirl, cutting this, cutting that. I love his arms right now. He's like, there's only so much. He's like, you've been prepped for this. I get it, as you should be, Yeah, and I'm not going to ask you anything that can get you
abstain.
100%. But I will ask you the same thing. When you hear about the Batgirl stuff, you got to be making phone calls, going, where we at? What's going on? It's got to be terrifying.
I think there was a lot of confusion at first.
Yeah.
Rightfully so. I think, however the Batgirl situation was handled, I assure you, was probably not the way that it was meant to be handled.
Yeah.
And I don't even have to speak on that. Leslie, everyone involved, Leslie, the directors, they deserve to have their word be, I think, the one that you should hear. But yeah, there's a little bit of maybe curiosity.
Right.
But honestly, I think we were so confident going into the merger had happened before we started filming. So I guess it would have been really dumb for them to be like, all right, now we just spent all this money doing the movie. If they wanted to, if that was the case. And this is me like trying to be like, all right, everything is okay. This is clearly what's happening, trying to make sense of it all. But there was quickly clarity on the subject. So any doubts that I might have had were.
Well, that's what the follow-up from that article said. The article was that there's extreme confidence in it, which got to give you a good boost of confidence. That there's a lot of confidence in the film. They're very excited about it. So how far along are you in filming? And don't worry, anything that you say that you feel you will cut out.
When this Batgirl thing happens.
So
how far are we along filming when that happens?
No. How long are you filming at this moment?
Done.
You're finished.
Done.
You're completely finished.
I mean,
awesome.
The come out in August part, is
we don't know yet. So,
no. I mean,
okay. August of next year, we think so far.
Yeah.
So tell me about the character, though. Again, don't tell me about the story. Don't get yourself in trouble. Tell me what you can tell me about the character and why. Because when we first met, we talked about how you wanted to play a superhero. We talked about it, and then it was like, because I remember going through after you got announced for Blue Beetle, and I'm like, wait a minute, was that the one? And it wasn't the one. but it was definitely. I know that we
Yeah.
have talked about Blue Beetle and how interested you were in the character. So tell me about, first of all, the audition process that you can talk about. Yes.
Yeah.
So tell me about the audition process, and then when this comes along, are you like, oh, I gotta get this?
So the audition process was a little bit different than anything I had done before. I had met the director, Angel Manuel Soto, who also did Charm City Kings. Just had this Menudo documentary come out. I had met him at Sundance a few years prior because of Charm City Kings, actually, which was an Overbrook project. Cobra Kai is an Overbrook project. And I had met him, and we had really hit it off. And flash forward to, I think, like a year and a half later, I find out that Blue Beetle is getting made with this guy.
Oh,
the guy that
cool.
I met at the dinner. And I'm like, what the, whoa, hey, I got to get on at least a meeting with this guy, or like, let me audition for this project, because there's like 3 teenager Latino superheroes, and it's like Miles Morales, Blue Beetle, and Nova.
Right.
And it's like, dude, this is, I have to at least see this guy. And I had met with Angel, and pretty early on, he had really instilled a lot of confidence that I was the guy.
Wow, from the first meeting.
From not necessarily from the first meeting. I mean, it was at that early on. This is like a year before I would even find out that I got the role.
Yeah.
There was he really didn't want to be like, hey, you're the guy. But for all intents and purposes, he was really.
He gave you confidence.
He gave me confidence in the room,
That's
and in a way that I hadn't felt before. And then, flash forward almost a year later, I get the role, no audition.
Okay.
No audition.
So
just
you essentially were auditioning through those conversations.
Doing it with the conversations, right. And I had met with at that point Walter Hamada and Galen and some of the other guys over at Warner Brothers, and it was at one of the dinners that they were like, "All right, bring the director out," and the director was like, "You got the part," and I was like, "Oh my gosh!" They had punked me at this dinner, and then they were like, "Hey, get your weight up, and we'll see you in a few months to start filming this thing."
Man. So when was that when you got cast? What you remember? Was that 2020?
This was right before. This is in between hiatus for the 2 seasons of Cobra Kai that we filmed. So I finished 1 season of Cobra Kai.
Okay.
Doing all the Zooms and stuff while I'm shooting season 4 of Cobra Kai. We get off. I get this role. Literally the next week, I go out to do season 5.
Oh, shoot.
So. And then we come back from season 5. A few months later, we start doing Blue Beetle.
Are you allowed to say anything to your cast members when you get the role? Do you tell people like, "Holy shit, I'm going to be Blue Beetle"?
At that, I mean, I booked the role on a Sunday.
Yeah.
The next day was the Los Angeles premiere for Suicide Squad.
Okay.
So on Sunday they go, "Hey, we want to announce you. Do you want to go to this premiere of the Suicide Squad?"
That's
and
cool.
I was like, whatever I have on Monday is canceled. Yes, I will be there. The next day rolls around, they announce me.
Yeah.
So it was public basically when I knew, so
Got it.
so there wasn't a sense of like, ooh.
You couldn't say shit. They already knew when you walked on set. So so again, when you walk in there and it's like, so let me ask you though, because did you have, when you're filming Blue Beetle though, you're already done with season 5?
Yeah, we finish Cobra Kai December of 2021.
Yeah.
And we do Blue Beetle in April of 2022.
So what's that like then, man? Like, going on there, and this is your movie, right? You're the guy. So tell me about the character. Don't tell me about the story. Yeah. Don't get yourself in trouble. But tell me about the character and what should we expect because I don't know a lot about Blue Beetle. I'll be honest. For me, what the draw was, because I know you. So when I heard that you were cast, I'm like, fuck yeah. And what they're doing now with DC and the way that they're restructuring it, I'm very interested in. But it was you, for me, it was the draw. And I think there's going to be a lot of Cobra Kai fans that you're the draw. But what is it about the character that people should get excited about?
There's a few things I think you should be excited about the royal you. The first is that, and it has to be said because it is political.
Yeah.
But it's the first, Latino-led superhero movie ever. That is one thing that I think sometimes is a little daunting.
I was going to say, is there a lot of pressure on you with that?
Not pressure, but there's an expectation or there's an understanding that there is a responsibility that comes with this.
Yeah.
Pressure is like I do so much to steer out of the way of pressure
Good for
that
you.
it takes a lot to
Good.
really like throw me off. But I'm really appreciative for Warner Brothers for like actually making the move, because I feel like with a lot of these things, with being the pioneer and being the biggest voice in the room in terms of what people are consuming, a lot of the times it's like that guy's going to handle it. We don't have to do this type of movie because the other person's going to do it,
Right.
or because the other person already did it, or this and that. And I think for the longest time, although they do have Latinos and Latinas in these movies, like, you know, Salma Hayek, Xochitl Gomez, like there are people to be like, hey, we're gonna put our money where our mouths are and actually put, you know, make this guy the lead.
Yeah.
I'm really appreciative of. In terms of the character, I mean, there's a ton of comics to go off of, so
Yeah.
I was so excited to read through all of those, and reading the story, find that he is. Sorry, these bubblies are.
They can get you. They can get you. They can get you. I love them. But they definitely you're burping up a
Dude,
storm.
a little.
Yeah, just fire one out,
City.
man. Nobody cares.
He is similar to that, I'd say, of like a Green Lantern or an Iron Man. There's a scarab that he comes across that sometimes he stumbles across, sometimes it's given to him, that has been passed down through generations. And the scarab is this alien technology that is sent by this organization or this alien collective called the Reach.
The Reach. Okay.
And they put a scarab on each planet and say, hey, scarab, when this planet, you know, has enough advancements in technology, you're going to attach to a host so that we can come back to this planet and take over. But this scarab in particular on Earth attaches to a host and doesn't send the signal back to the Reach. And it has become conscious in a sense that it actually has it rejects the beliefs of the Reach, and is trying to save, you know, through this alien technology, the planet and the monsters or the, you know, villains on the planet.
It's kind of got like a Venom type thing ish.
Yes.
Yeah.
In the sense that it is you know, all encapsulating suit, and it does have a voice that speaks to him. But Blue Beetle as a character is like from the 30s, like one of the older DC, and I think that's kind of what DC has as legacy terms of just really having a wide timeline of everything. And Blue Beetle is like one of the earliest characters, albeit not my iteration of him, Jaime Reyes. There were a few that came before him, but it's a pretty old character.
What's Jaime like as a character, like before, you know, in general, from the comics? So what's he like?
I think Jaime, the comics tend to skew fairly political as well in terms of addressing topics like what it's like to be a person of color in the educational system, or in the, you know, kind of the structure of how our society has been set up, how sometimes there's promises made to you as a youth saying, if you do things like go to college, if you do these you know, these simple steps, you will succeed in life, and how sometimes that isn't the case. And sometimes surely by something, or even by something like the color of your skin or where you grow up or your zip code, that there are things that differentiate you. And also, there's such a big family theme in the movies as well, in the comics as well. And honestly, I can say it too in the movie.
Yeah.
You know, our cast has really been, it's crazy going from a project like Cobra Kai where you have to build chemistry with people over 5 years. You have so long to learn about these people, and then go into a movie where you have 2 weeks to be like, hey, you guys are meeting each other. You guys are a family. Here you go. But, oh man, it felt great. And that's another story. But there's such a strong sense of family in the comics, and that's something that I think all people can relate to. Yes, it is specific to the Latino experience because these characters are Latino and yada, yada, yada.
Right.
But there's so many things that you read on the page that you're like, oh, my family's like this.
Right.
And I think that is what's going to differentiate it from maybe some of the escapism superhero movies that we've seen in the past. This one really does feel grounded.
Well, I love that, and that's what I liked about Shazam when they did that with the kids inside of the foster home. That's what I liked about Ms. Marvel, where they did stuff like that. So let me, you mentioned as far as being political, the comics in general have been political and these things. You're 21 years old. You've been around. I mean, you grew up in the age where the internet's really all you've known as a kid. See, I didn't grow up with that. Yeah, it took me time to get used to, and I constantly talk about social media and stuff on this show. It's a blessing and a curse at the same time. And a lot of times fandoms can really be, they can be very embracing, and they can be very abrasive. And I think that DC is a very loyal fan base, as you I'm sure have seen. But I've also seen, whether it's DC, Marvel, Star Wars, the fan base can be brutal. As I'm sure, like, so, you say you handle pressure very well, but when it comes to, let's say, do you get nervous at all when it comes to, because there's a lot of, not even the representation of like the character alone, like, the confidence inside of that that's obviously important, and you clearly are going into that with confidence. But do you worry about that hateful side of the world that comes out and says, okay, well, they're making this because it's political. They're making this because of this, and this is who's this guy, and blah 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 blah. Does that ever? Do you just brush that off and say, I just got to do my job? How does that work?
I think it's a little bit of both. I really love, reading and talking about how people think.
Yeah.
And I think, especially with stuff as divisive and as polarizing sometimes as the movie industry, I couldn't, there's always going to be people who say something.
Yeah.
And that's okay.
Yeah.
And good, bad, neutral, I will listen to it all. I really do think that nobody's opinion is less. I shouldn't be the one to be like, I am the one who says what this movie is supposed to be, and if you don't agree, you're wrong. But people are also really afraid of change, and I understand that as well.
Yeah.
And I'm so grateful to be alive right now at a time that the tides are, turning, and the narrative is changing, and the stories are being told differently for different people and what have you. But I've always been such a big believer that, especially when it comes to social media, people are going to say what they're going to say, and I have to really make a conscious effort not to let the noise seep in.
You're really good on social media. You really are, because I'm sure, because I've spoken to you many different times, and you're definitely opinionated, and you have your thoughts, and you're passionate about things. But and I've said it to you to your face, and I've said it to you outside. Even when I met you when you were 16, 17, you have a very good head on your shoulders, and you've also accredited that to your mom and everything too. But that answer alone makes me go, you're going into this right. And I would, like anybody else, I would say, embrace the comments, stay away from the comments, do your thing.
Yeah, and I think just to add on that as well, this movie is not to make me, the next Brad Pitt, the next biggest thing.
Right.
If I'm going into it with the intention of, I'm about to do this movie and take over the world, I'm going to be the biggest movie star ever, then the reality of what this movie means to people is totally kind of tarnished, because this movie has to be to open the door for more opportunities. And I think that's what is really important, and really what needs to be the change, and why it is necessary to be disruptive about this movement. And sometimes it is necessary to, make big changes that this industry hasn't seen before, because it has to change. And the idea that, let's say, a movie with a Latino cast doesn't do great, but it does good, that then a studio will be like, it only did all right, we should just stick with the other stuff. Like, it needs to happen. So whether or not people are accepting of it or like it or whatever, that's fine, because it's not to make me big. It's not to, it needs to open more doors.
And you want to tell the story. And look, the other thing about that is, I will tell you, the reception for this movie so far has been phenomenal.
Crazy,
It's been phenomenal.
And when that suit came out, talking about,
yeah,
crazy fans, I was scared when that suit leaked, because it wasn't supposed to happen. It was some dude up in a parking structure that took a picture of it. And they had known, dude, this is going to be our first time outside. Please wear this thing at all times. And it was literally I took it off, did the scene, put it back, and in between
Wow.
they took the picture, and I was really scared because this early on in a movie, someone sees a suit and they don't like it, they're not watching the movie.
Right.
They literally
Or they're
going to
nail it the way they nailed Sonic that time.
Or they're going to roast it out of oblivion, and it's going to be a thing. And then when the actual movie comes out, they're going to be like, "Oh wait, is that the movie with the dumb kid in the suit?" And I didn't. I remember what I thought about that movie.
Right.
Which is what a lame way to live life. But this is just the reality of how this social media stuff works. If it's a moment, and you think about it then, and then you don't really think about it after that. But dang, the responses were really awesome for it.
They lost it.
And I'm so grateful for that. You know, our costuming team, Maes Rubio, really awesome work on the costume. And yeah, we've seen some pictures of it, but when you see it in the movie and when you see it in action, it's going to be really awesome.
Can you tell me and if you can't, that's fine, we'll move on. But can you tell me like what we can expect as far as tone? Like, are we going to see, because like I always get nervous. For me, I too much humor in like sometimes when it's overpowers the movie. I like when humor's in the movie, but when it overpowers the movie, for my personal taste is I'm a little
standoffish.
Yes, but unless it's really funny and it works. But sometimes it's a mixture of like you were mentioning, like whether it was Iron Man or even like Batman's the most recent one's pretty dark. Can you tell me anything about tone at all?
Yeah, look, I think what I can say about the tone is that DC has done a really great job of having very distinguished films. And you see that across their whole slate, from as early as, some of the first Batmans to as recent as like the new Suicide Squad, the new Batman, Joker. They all cover very different tonally feelings. And I think what this movie does really well is kind of fill in a gap that we haven't seen before in this universe. That's all I can kind of say about it, just because also movies are found in the editing room.
Yeah.
And you can film a movie one way and edit it to make it feel like a totally different movie. So I can tell you what it, feels like, or what it, how the script reads, but it really doesn't matter until the movie comes out. And
we see a trailer and we see him saying, all right, well, good for you, man. I'm excited to see it. I can't wait for our next year's interview.
Oh, yeah.
Because that's going to be, we should do it in September.
Yeah, dude, the movie comes out in August, hopefully.
Yeah, for sure. So speaking of movies, last time we talked,
God, my mom told me.
You knew I was going to do it. She said, "Watch Braveheart," didn't she? and you didn't do it.
I haven't seen it.
I'm gonna give it to you.
Yeah,
I have it. It's one of my favorite movies, and I'm gonna give the fucking thing to you because it's so that's one of, and your mom's watching, and I just cursed twice, so I apologize.
No.
But all right, so that what are you watching though? Because now because this is very different now from, again, talking to a 16, 17-year-old kid, talking to a 21-year-old kid. What are you watching? What's interesting?
Well, right now I'm watching House of the Dragon.
Oh, it's so good, man. It's the best show on television.
And let me tell you, I'm blasphemous because I haven't seen Game of Thrones. Never watched Game of Thrones.
But you know why you can get away with that? Because it's so many years beforehand.
It's so many years before, and I think I enjoy it, but I'm pumped to watch Game of Thrones after this. And I don't have the 7 years of waiting for the finale, so now I'm bitter about it. Like, I can binge the whole thing right now. So I feel like...
Who's your favorite character? Damon?
I like Damon.
Yeah.
I like Damon. But also Rhaenyra. I mean, she really... And I just got to the episode. I haven't watched 6. I've watched the first 5.
Okay.
And I think 6 is the one where they do the time jump.
Yes.
But really awesome stuff. And I think, but also because I haven't seen Game of Thrones, it's like
you're learning
the royal
culture.
Family bloodline clean is like stuff kind of makes me uneasy. But Damon is really good. And Matt Smith is someone I hadn't seen Doctor Who. I wasn't really familiar with his work, so seeing him in this it's pretty cool.
Isn't it awesome how that works, where you get introduced to somebody like the first time, like there's somebody with a body work like Matt Smith has, like whether it was The Crown or Doctor Who or all these, and he was actually really Morpheus to me is not a great movie, but he was good in the movie. But when you're introduced to him the first time, that's how you're always going to kind of remember him now as Damon, right?
Yeah, seriously, and he's ripped and like he's
so good in that role.
Really, what a tortured character he is. So I'm watching that. Waiting for that new season of Succession.
I still, I haven't watched that show yet. I know, I hear good things.
It's a hard one to, I think, watch for some people.
I watched the first 2 episodes and I thought they were great.
Oh yes, but I think at least with people my age that I'm like, watch this is in an age of YouTube and instant like gratification. Something like Succession, they watch the first episode and they're like, yawn fest.
They'll like
Kendall Roy, this guy blows.
Yeah. I think they'll like it as they get older too. But that also, as you were talking beforehand, and how instrumental and how like important it is for you to be playing Jaime and Diego Luna in Andor, leading,
which I'm hearing is like
it's fantastic,
really awesome. I haven't seen it yet.
No, because the reason that triggered that for me is when you said that some people find it boring, right? That a lot of people have said that Andor to them is a slow burn, and it is. But I feel it's the best written Star Wars show hands down because it dives deep into character. It really explores, and it's a very, I think, important show as well. So where it is a very strong led Latino cast, and it's fantastic. I love that show so much. And Diego Luna is a superstar.
Yeah, and when it comes to stuff like that, even when they're not beating you over the head with the representation stick, that's like, hey, you need to, be force fed this, or like, it does something subconsciously, even if they don't even address it, to see someone that looks like yourself on screen and doing cool stuff.
Yeah. Yeah, so it's true. And
you for Diego Luna, that's awesome.
He's so good in it. All right, so you're watching Game of Thrones, you're watching that. What about movies? You got a chance? You see Top Gun yet? Top Gun?
I haven't seen Top Gun.
Wow.
The last movie I think I saw was Everything Everywhere All at Once.
Great movie.
Loved that one. Yeah. I watched The Warrior.
Which
with
one?
Tom Hardy.
A Warrior, the MMA movie.
Yeah,
it's great.
That one was really awesome.
Yeah, it's great.
Had just seen. I saw Elvis.
What'd you think of that?
I liked Elvis. The new Elvis. There's a new Elvis movie coming out now.
Another one?
Yeah, called Priscilla.
Oh no!
About his wife. And
wow!
It's
Didn't know that.
what an interesting move. Yeah, what an interesting move to be like.
Yeah.
Really bold.
It is.
It says we know that we're gonna make a better movie, and
it's interesting. I didn't hear about that one. I did like the new one, the Baz Luhrmann, Austin Butler one. I really liked it a lot.
The musician biopics that I've seen have all felt really different, and I've really enjoyed that. I mean, Rocket Man, Bohemian Rhapsody, Ray.
Yeah.
This one, I'm excited for the. I'm a shameless Timothée Chalamet fan, so I'm excited for the Bob Dylan one.
Yeah, well,
he'll do.
What's so funny is and that was something else. Because of the Netflix move with Cobra Kai, I told you we get back to Cobra Kai, but the Netflix move to Cobra Kai, and the grander stage now, right? You see, we saw that whole video that Andrew Garfield is like a major fan, right? So have you found people like, holy shit, so and so watches our show? Like besides like obviously the Garfield one, who's the most obscure person that you saw, or not even obscure, like person that you went, oh damn,
Tim Dillon.
That's cool.
Tim Dillon is someone that I was like, this really makes sense.
Yeah.
But I can't imagine him sitting down and watching any show, really. Elon Musk was a weird one as well. That was an interesting one as well. I feel like because our demographic is so widespread, it's random. Like I'm pretty sure Ryan's Toys Reviews like watches the show and also someone like Elon Musk. So
it's pretty exciting, man. It's because that's because of the whole putting in your generation and putting in my generation into the show. That's how you do it. That's how you make a massive hit. And well, obviously really good writing and good stories, but that was the magic touch.
Yeah. I'm excited. I mean, Patton Oswalt is a fan of the show, and that one's really cool to see. I'd worked with him.
All right.
So that was.
Before we let you get out of here, tell me about you. What's going on with your life outside of obviously the working on Blue Beetle? You're not 21. You're not you're doing all these things. What's life like outside of it too? What are you doing to relax? What are you doing with your pals? Overall, what's your life like?
I mean, right now the pals are all in their last stages of college.
Yeah.
A lot of them are heading into the senior year of college. So I'm hungry to do other stuff, man. I think heading into Blue Beetle has really taught me more about what I want to accomplish as an actor.
Sure.
And
what's that? What is that?
I think I would just like to, at this moment, it's just to become better.
Yeah.
And I think with the security that Cobra Kai gave me, and with how close the character was to someone like myself. I mean, he was 16 when I started. I was 16 when it started. A lot of the material was stuff that felt tangible and easy to connect with. And because I started acting so early and kind of blew through high school and my college years doing, this show, I didn't, and I could have outsourced, and I now in retrospect, maybe I should have outsourced, but I didn't really do a lot of classes or a lot of like learning about the craft of acting or whatever that is, whether that it's taking one-on-ones or group lessons or going to school for it. I didn't have this experience. And while I maybe could have gotten away with, being a cute smile when I was 10, 11, 12, however long, and work instinctually off of, certain things in Cobra Kai that really, that I really have to applaud the person always across the screen from me, because they really have helped me find my craft and the way that I do things. And, but I'm about to head into this next level of acting where I'm going to be, auditioning against people my age who did go to college for these things and who are really technically great and better than me. And I want to be able to like ride around with the big dogs,
Well, it seems like you're on your way, my man. I mean, for what you're doing from where, I mean, it's got to, and I know, and look, this is again, the fact that you have kept there are a lot of people that at 16 years old get a hit show and then get a movie at 21 could be turned into assholes. You clearly have not done that. And I applaud you for that. But I also, the idea of staying humble, but still, I think it's a good thing that, like the want to be great, and that's not a narcissistic thing. That's a battle within ourselves to say, hey, let's go out there and let's see the best game that I can play. And I think the learning it, there was 16. I mean, obviously you were acting way before that, but being on this show and being in the constant grind on it and then getting the hit movie, you have to understand how that does not happen a lot of the times, where it's just like, boom, into a big, it's usually, and I'm sure you do know that, but I'm just saying, like, when it comes to, it's usually, okay, he's got a really good role on Blue Beetle, not he is Blue Beetle. Yeah. So that's a testament to what you did. And that's a testament to your work.
No, it is. And I think that really helps ease my mind sometimes, because it's really easy to have intrusive thoughts or these types of things. Yeah. But when you realize this movie isn't going to make me big, or when you realize that being number one on the call sheet doesn't mean you have to be the best, and it shouldn't mean you're the best. Yeah. And when you are learning these things, and I really have to thank everyone on the Blue Beetle team and on the Cobra Kai team as well, that really has helped open my eyes to what, to more of what this industry has to offer in front of the camera, behind the camera, and really be patient with me. I'm so appreciative of that. And it makes me so excited to go into this, hopefully, 6th season of Cobra Kai and, kind of
take some of that stuff.
Take some of that stuff that I've learned. And
cool.
That's what it should always be like.
What's your mom tell you when you get this role? Same type of thing?
She says, it doesn't mean you don't have to pick up the dog shit.
Good for her.
Yeah.
Good for her.
That's what she says. She says, oh, perfect. So you can pick up your sister at 3 from theater practice.
But you joke about that, but seriously though, but that's the kind of stuff that keeps you right? But isn't it though? It's
yeah.
Like, okay, movie star, that's great. Pick up the shit.
Yeah.
100%.
And I think
that's awesome.
I skew rather introvert. Like, I'm a homebody. I have my 4 friends that
homebody didn't watch Braveheart. Go ahead. No, please go ahead. Finish what you were saying.
Yeah, I don't know. Right now, I want a video game binge. I don't know. Yeah, I'm playing League of Legends like a loser. Yeah, I don't like.
Did you watch Arcane?
Yeah,
dude,
loved it. Really great.
Love it? I loved it.
Yeah,
I know nothing about League of Legends.
Oh, okay. And I think League of Legends already has its own little lore, but this I think really expands on it. Really, really awesome show. So I think I live in a part of Los Angeles that isn't like the Los Angeles part of Los Angeles. So I've never really been one to like the hype and these types of things are not wrong. I don't deem them wrong or
Yeah,
like
it's just not you.
they're just not me. And I think
Keep that,
that's
man.
what kind of makes it easy. And you know,
Keep it. All right, last thing before you go. Parenthood.
Yeah.
So it was a very, very popular show. It was where I first had recognized you because my wife watched it religiously. There's rumors of a reunion show, a reboot show. So you, with that face, you have not heard this because I saw something. I said it to my wife. She's like, I haven't.
They're like, we don't need to bring them back.
No, but I don't know if that's necessarily. I don't even know if it's real. I looked at it the other before you came in, and I said I heard there was some kind of rumor about it, and obviously, with not spoiling that show, there's certain characters that can't come back. But I had seen it, and I said, okay, I wonder if they. So you haven't heard anything.
I haven't heard anything.
Okay.
I think it could be a good thing.
Yeah, like a reunion show.
Like a reunion season or like a. But I think, it's been a while since the show has come out.
Yeah.
And I think to come back to a show of this type of tone years later and be like, they're still going through it. Like, still
Right.
would be like, man, they had such a great, like a seemingly good ending. Things are going well to then go whatever 7-8 years later and be like, time to cry every episode again.
So,
I would kind of be like, dude, give these guys a break.
The only reason I could see that happening is because This Is Us is done, and,
Yeah.
and so that
But This Is Us, I think, really took a concept and a tone like Parenthood and brought something new that I think was really necessary.
Yeah.
And yeah, we should make a new show.
I think it'll probably happen. So look, man, thank you for coming in here today.
Thank you for having me.
It's always a pleasure. We got to do it again. Hopefully we'll do it. Hopefully, yes. Hopefully July, August of next year.
Yeah, we will.
We'll talk. Congratulations on everything.
Thank you.
Blue Beetle, ladies and gentlemen, Cobra Kai, and it is Xolo Maridueña. I'm so excited that he was able to come in, and make sure that you guys, if you haven't been checking out Cobra Kai, well, we spoiled the hell out of it for you, so tough shit. So make sure you check that out if you haven't seen it already, and make sure you're keeping up on updates on Blue Beetle. I can't wait to see it. We've got him. We'll get him back again. Make sure that you comment. If you haven't already, everything going on, we got the podcast, so make sure that's Apple Podcasts. If you haven't checked that out, do the Spotify. Do it all, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us. We'll see you on the flip side. Peace.